The city street hummed with the gentle rhythm of evening life. Soft golden light spilled from the cafe windows, casting warm patches on the weathered sidewalk. The air carried the familiar scent of fresh coffee and the distant sound of conversations drifting from nearby restaurants. Sarah sat quietly on the concrete steps, her legs folded beneath her flowing cream-colored dress. The fabric cooled around her like fallen petals, soft and delicate against the harsh urban backdrop. She held a small paper cup in her hands, steam rising from the opening in gentle spirals. The warmth felt good against her palms. Her blonde hair caught the streetlight, creating a halo effect that made her seem almost ethereal in the growing dusk. She had been sitting there for nearly an hour, watching people pass by, each lost in their own world. The city never truly slept, but evenings like this brought a certain peace to the chaos. Across from her, at one of the small outdoor tables, sat a man in a dark suit. His name was Michael, though Sarah didn't know this yet. He had ordered his coffee 20 minutes ago but had barely touched it. Instead, he found himself watching the woman on the steps, curious about her story. Michael had always been the type to notice details others missed. The way she held her cup with both hands, as if drawing comfort from its warmth. The way her eyes seemed to search the faces of passers-by, as if looking for someone familiar. There was something about her presence that spoke of quiet strength mixed with gentle vulnerability. The evening had not gone as Sarah had planned. She was supposed to meet her sister here, at this very cafe, to discuss some family matters that had been weighing on both their minds. They had chosen this spot because it was halfway between their apartments, neutral ground where difficult conversations might flow more easily. But her sister had called an hour ago, apologizing profusely. A work emergency had come up, something that couldn't wait until tomorrow. Sarah understood, of course. She always understood. It was her nature to be patient, to accept these small disappointments with grace. Still, sitting here alone, she felt the familiar ache of being the one who waited. It seemed like her whole life had been a series of moments like this, holding space for others who couldn't quite make it. She wasn't bitter about it, not exactly. But sometimes the loneliness felt heavier than usual. The coffee in her cup had grown lukewarm, but she continued to hold it, drawing what comfort she could from the ritual. People walked past in pairs and groups, their laughter and conversation creating a soundtrack to her solitude. She watched a couple share a kiss under the streetlight, their joy so pure it made her heart ache with longing. Michael finished his coffee and stood to leave, but something made him pause. Perhaps it was the way the woman's shoulders had sagged slightly, or the way she seemed to be shrinking into herself. He had always been taught to mind his own business, to respect the privacy of strangers. But something about this moment felt different. He walked slowly toward her, his footsteps careful and deliberate. When he was close enough to speak without raising his voice, he stopped. "Excuse me," he said gently. "I hope you don't mind me asking, but are you all right?" Sarah looked up, surprised by the interruption. His face was kind, with warm brown eyes that held genuine concern. She realized she had been so lost in her thoughts that she hadn't noticed him approaching. "Oh," she said, managing a small smile. "Yes, I'm fine, just waiting for someone." Michael nodded, but something in her tone suggested there was more to the story. He glanced at the empty space beside her on the steps. Then back at her face. "Would you like some company while you wait?" he asked. "I don't mean to intrude, but you look like you could use someone to talk to." Sarah hesitated. Her instinct was to politely decline, to maintain the careful distance she kept between herself and strangers. But there was something about his manner that felt safe, trustworthy. And truthfully, she was tired of sitting alone with her thoughts. "I suppose that would be nice," she said, gesturing to the space beside her. "Though I should warn you, I'm not very good company tonight." Michael settled down beside her, careful to maintain a respectful distance. "I doubt that's true," he said. "Sometimes we're hardest on ourselves when we're feeling low." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the evening unfold around them. A gentle breeze stirred the leaves of a nearby tree, and the sound of distant traffic created a steady rhythm in the background. "I was supposed to meet my sister here," Sarah found herself saying. "We had plans to talk about some family things. But she had to cancel at the last minute." Michael nodded thoughtfully. "That's disappointing, especially when you've been looking forward to it." "The thing is," Sarah continued, surprising herself with her openness, "this happens a lot. I mean, I understand that people have responsibilities, emergencies that come up. But sometimes I wonder if I'm too understanding, you know. If I make it too easy for people to put me second." Michael considered her words carefully. It sounds like you're a very patient person. That's a wonderful quality, but it can also be a burden if others take advantage of it. Sarah looked at him with new interest. You sound like you know something about that. I do, he admitted. I spent years being the reliable one, the one who would always be there no matter what. It took me a long time to realize that being dependable doesn't mean being disposable. Something in his voice told Sarah that he had learned this lesson the hard way. She found herself wanting to know more about his story, but she sensed that this wasn't the time to pry. So what changed? She asked instead. Michael smiled, and for the first time that evening, it reached his eyes. I started valuing my own time as much as I valued other people's. I learned that saying no sometimes actually makes the times you say yes more meaningful. They continued talking as the evening deepened around them. Sarah learned that Michael was a teacher, someone who spent his days helping others learn and grow. He discovered that she worked as a librarian, quietly helping people find the information and stories they needed. Both of them, it turned out, were natural givers, people who found joy in supporting others. But both had also learned that giving without boundaries could lead to emptiness rather than fulfillment. As the cafe began to close and the street grew quieter, Sarah realized that her disappointment about her sister's cancellation had faded. Instead, she felt grateful for this unexpected encounter, this gentle conversation with a stranger who had somehow understood exactly what she needed to hear. Thank you, she said as they both stood to leave. For stopping to talk to me. For listening. Michael smiled warmly. Thank you for letting me sit with you. Sometimes the best conversations happen when we least expect them. They exchanged numbers, both sensing that this was the beginning of something meaningful. Not necessarily romantic, though neither ruled that out. But certainly a friendship built on mutual understanding and respect. As Sarah walked home, she felt lighter than she had in months. The evening hadn't gone according to plan, but it had given her something she hadn't even known she was looking for. A reminder that kindness existed in unexpected places, and that sometimes the most important conversations happened not with the people we planned to meet, but with the ones who chose to sit beside us when we needed it most. The city continued its evening rhythm around her, but now she felt part of it rather than separate from it. Tomorrow she would call her sister and reschedule their conversation. But tonight, she was content to carry home the warmth of a new friendship and the knowledge that she was not as alone as she had thought.